In the Siddha Mahayoga tradition, spiritual awakening is a literal biological event. It is an alchemy of the physical. The ancient texts define Kundalini as a high-voltage frequency introduced directly into the biological hardware of the human nervous system. To host an immense electrical surge, the human body must undergo a radical structural recalibration. This infinite cosmic horizon represents the absolute source of that high-voltage energy. Mapping the esoteric, silent architecture of the human body reveals how the system mechanically processes this current without catastrophic failure. The spiritual path is a bioengineering challenge. It requires preparing carbon-based tissue to conduct an infinite current. The baseline operating system of a normal human is a low-amperage circuit, built purely for basic survival. This system is governed by the illusion of distance, the ego's belief in its separation from the cosmic source, which acts as a biological dampener, keeping the high voltage dormant. In a state of horizontal biology, energy constantly leaks outward toward external stimuli and sensory pursuits. To maintain the ego's defenses, the baseline endocrine system runs on a permanent stress loop, secreting cortisol and adrenaline. Hosting the divine chill requires immense structural stability, a state far removed from this chaotic, low-frequency baseline. Forcing a cosmic electrical surge into this unrefined, stress-driven hardware would result in immediate biological and mental destruction. Because the egoic hardware resists high voltage, the system requires an irreversible spark from an external source to begin the transition. The guru acts as a silent witness and an electrical transformer, stepping down absolute universal power into a manageable frequency for transmission. This transmission, Shaktipat, bypasses the intellect to strike the nervous system directly. The current is injected through 4 methods of impact: physical touch as an electrode, the word as a frequency seed, the look as a visual resonance, and the will as mental activation. Once initiated, the biological transition becomes autonomous as the body's innate intelligence takes full control. Initiation is a surgical bioenergetic phase transition triggered by a specialized conductor. Layered over the spine is the silent architecture, a network of conduits called nadis. The lateral Ida and Pingala channels bounce energy horizontally, maintaining low voltage. The central Sushumna axis, running up the core, is built to host far more power. The primary mechanical goal of the laboratory is to balance the lateral currents, forcing that scattered energy into the central Sushumna. The breath of Kashmir is a rhythmic biological tool drawing this current inward to the center. The Sushumna is the only highway of grace physically capable of hosting the unshielded cosmic current without burning out the system. When the high-voltage current enters the nadis, it hits dense biological tissue. This illustrates the fundamental formula of physical alchemy. Current plus resistance equals heat. Biological resistance takes the form of granthis, literal energetic knots created by past trauma and sensory addictions that clog the channels. When the rising Kundalini hits these granthis, the resulting turbulence manifests as kriyas, spontaneous physical tremors, intense heat, and involuntary yoga postures. These movements are precise mechanical maintenance protocols, clearing the wires. The friction and heat of kriyas are the sounds of biological resistance being burned away. If the process is forced incorrectly, it leads to psychological fragmentation, often labeled as Kundalini syndrome. This is a structural failure. A practitioner is attempting to force 10,000 volts of spiritual energy into a fragile 10-volt egoic fuse box. When the mind acts as a biological circuit breaker, it frays under the immense pressure, unable to pass the current. Suppressing physical kriyas, or lacking the lead shielding of a guru, traps this pressure inside the skull, causing the psychological architecture to fracture. This state is an engineering failure, the result of increasing voltage before clearing the physical resistance. As the nadis are scrubbed clean, the friction of the kriyas subsides into silence. The energy achieves absolute stabilization, flowing strictly within the central spinal axis. When the current reaches the pineal and pituitary glands, the endocrine symphony begins. cellular mitochondria and glandular tissue remolecularize, shifting from dense to high-frequency light. This transmutation shifts the endocrine balance, moving away from survival-based stress hormones like cortisol. The glands begin secreting amrita, a high-frequency neurochemistry that bathes the brain. This process permanently rewires the brain chemistry to sustain constant high-frequency awareness. The nervous system has crystallized into its final state. Internal resistance has been incinerated, allowing for the superfluid spirit. Energy flows upward with zero friction and zero effort. The chakras have harmonized their vibration, allowing for the final geometric expansion of the frequency at the Sahasrara, the crown. The physical frame has become a transparent medium for the source. The ultimate great exit from the ego is the mastery of biological alchemy, turning the human vessel into a living superconductor for the infinite.